All right. Thanks everybody for joining us today. We're so excited to have Corey, our life coach with us, our weight loss life coach, with us today to talk about how to make this weight loss stick. So I'm super excited because this is what we want, lose weight, keep it off for life, and just continue our healthy habits. And so Corey's going to talk about that mindset part of it. And because I'm really excited about this, I'm just going to turn it right over to you, Corey, and take it away.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Janine. I'm so excited too. I think this is a really fun topic to think about. So I have some slides. Can I share my screen or do I have to be let's see.
There you go. Now you should be able to share it.
Now okay, hold on. I went to the wrong place first. Just a second here. Share screen. It's like right in front of you, but okay, let's see. Let's go into, oh, wait a minute. In the way of me. Sorry, everybody. We'll get there. Present. Okay.
Yeah.
Everybody see that?
Yep.
Okay, so it was interesting as I was like preparing for this. If you Google how to make things stick or like weight loss, how to make weight loss permanent, there's not very fun things that come up. It's sort of like a depressing thing to Google because a lot of what you'll find is like it's hard or this really low amount of people actually keep weight off once they've lost it. So that wasn't fun to go to Google, but I do think that I have some really great things to think about for you today for how to make what you've done so far stick and even future things that you want to change stick because we really can make it permanent. Our brains are so powerful and that's sort of we're going to take a different focus today than what Google says because we don't believe any of that. So I have broken it down to three things, and I'm going to go into what each of the three things mean in more detail. But first, we'll just look at all three. So we're going to make it our own, and I'll tell you what I mean by that in just a second. And then two, and these are in no order. It's not like we go first make it our own, then we create, then we decide we can. These are just things that I've noticed that kind of block people from success. So make it your own, consciously create, and then deciding that you can. And again, I'm going to go through each one. So we'll just do that right now. First, making it your own. What I mean by making it your own is we've got amazing people here. I feel like I'm a really good coach. We've got Janine, we've got exercise experts all here to support you, and we all have things to share. But I want you to make all of it your own, meaning oftentimes with weight loss, at least for me, what it can feel like is like climbing a huge mountain, right? We're trying so hard to stick with everything everybody has told us, and it feels a little bit rigorous maybe, but then we get there to our goal. We're at the top of the mountain and our guide gets in a helicopter and flies away, right? Like it's over. 12 weeks are over. Now what? We don't have anybody to guide us anymore. And the only way it makes sense then that we like slide back down the mountain or slide back into our previous habits. Because a lot of the time we don't pick things that we already love to do or things that already work for us. We're very much prone, I think, as humans to be like, what should I do? Just tell me the list and I'll do it. But maybe we hate doing it, right? Maybe we hate I don't know, eating spinach every day. Maybe we can't stand it, but we're doing it to get to that goal. So when I talk about making it your own, I'm talking about what do you love already? What is working for you already? Let's keep doing that and do it in a less intense way. Remember the mountain feeling like gotta be perfect every single day and we're gonna make it and don't give up and then you get there and you kind of feel lost. Instead of that, what if it was more of a path, like a flat, steady trail even? We're just gonna keep doing the things that are already working for us personally, and what works for me might not work for you and vice versa. So not believing there's one right way for everything, more that, hey, my body and me as a person, I have answers for myself. The most important thing to make it permanent is to feel good about what you're doing. I can give you one more example because this was something I feel like I struggled with a lot. I would always look at my sister. I have an older sister who's super fit, and the way that she does it is like no sugar ever, no flour ever. Like, I don't know, she eats just the healthiest stuff all the time. And I forever I was like, I just gotta be like her. I just gotta do it that way. But the truth for me is that's not what I want to do forever. I don't want to eat salad. I like bread. I like having a treat occasionally. So interestingly, you would think that if I let myself like eat bread and treats, that it wouldn't work long term, that I would like eat more and more and more. But what I found is giving myself that freedom to decide, then I'm creating as I go. I'm like, this is what's working now. I don't have to, again, follow somebody else's strict guidelines. I can create for myself, which kind of brings me to the second point, conscious creation. And what I mean by this is what we tend to do as humans is fall into, we're either going to be on the ball and live our diet 100 million%, or we're going to say, screw it, I'm done with this and I'm never going to eat healthy again, right? There's not a lot of in between. We call this all or nothing thinking, and it's like on the wagon, off the wagon thinking. What if there's no wagon, though? I'm curious what comes up. People might be like, there's a wagon. I like the wagon. But if you like it, by all means. But I just have never seen that be helpful for anyone to think we're on it or we're off. It's almost like if we're on it, we're good. We're a good human. If we're off, we're bad, right? One way or the other doesn't work, but it's also more difficult for our brain to create in the middle. So when I say conscious creation, what I mean is like creating in the middle, that middle space. You've got freedom to try things, see what works for you, and maybe fail. And that's the tricky part about this middle ground. So the killer of dreams is all or nothing thinking. We're either living in a perfect, unrealistic side of life that we're doing everything perfectly forever, or we're screaming, screw it, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. And in our brains, it feels like there's not much space in the middle to create the life we want. But what creating the life we want takes is a willingness to fail and learn from it. And that takes love for yourself. You can't fail and then call yourself a failure. You can't have something go wrong with your diet plan and then beat yourself up. If you have this foundation of self-love, then you can learn from it, which is what I think is the best way to go. Like, okay, so that didn't go the way I thought. What can I learn from it? What do I want to do next time from a loving space, not from, I can't believe you. You're never going to get this right type of energy, which sometimes can be our default. I wanted to offer you some questions to consider in this creation mode. You could start by thinking, and this is not like the perfect end all be all start, but just questioning yourself, like, what is the role that food is playing in your life right now? Food just being one piece of the puzzle, right? And then what role do you want it to play? And remembering that all the roles are good. There's no better roles. We don't have to answer the only role I want food to play is fuel, because that's the right answer, right? We could also create, sometimes I want it to be fun. Sometimes I want to just enjoy food with my friends. That could be a role that it plays. So notice how it's all up to me. It's not somebody else saying I have to do it a certain way. I am deciding. I'm looking at what it's played, the role that food has played, and then I'm looking at the role that I want it to play on purpose. I get to decide. And it doesn't have to be that all or nothing way. It doesn't, because again, the all or nothing, we just run out of steam. It's hard to sustain that. So we kind of need to make peace in the middle. I'm curious at this point, are there any questions around what I'm saying so far? Because I know this is sort of new and I would love to answer anything. We have one more point. So we can also, I opened it up at the end for questions, but if there's something on your mind right now that you want clarity around or you're not sure about, please feel free to raise your virtual hand or just start talking. I would love it. And if not, that's okay.
Corey, so when you talk about what role has food played in your life, can you address like for people that really enjoy food, like flavors and textures and eating out and cooking and different things like that, or really enjoy creating things, like cakes and desserts and pastries.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I would say do that. Why not do it? The problem isn't that we love food or love to create. The problem I feel like comes when we're giving the food power over us to like, I don't know, like we still get to decide all of it, right? We get to decide how much of the food we want to eat, how much feels good in our body. And again, that's where we bring it back to what feels good for me might not feel good for you. And I mean, really feel good. There's a difference between good in my mind and good in my actual physical body, right? And that's where coaching can come in because here's where what it's all about really. We have two ways that we interact with food. We have like our hormones in our body and how it's all running. If things are off that way, we might have more food cravings, right? Or if we're in our head a lot about food, thinking, I really want that, or this is the best thing ever, and I never want to give that up. And we have thoughts that create something else, they create urges. So basically, there's just two ways our body's talking to us, right? And if we have excess cravings, we can handle that. If we have excess urges, we can work on our thinking. So either way, we can get to a more settled place. So right now, if you're like, it doesn't feel possible, it doesn't feel like I can overcome these cravings or these urges for food, there could be something going on in either of these areas where, right, we can get our hormones in balance and then we can get our thoughts in check in a place that we like. So if you want to keep, hey, I love making food and cakes and eating these delicious things, that's fine. Then you just got to look at, is the way that I'm doing that right now getting me to the goal that I have? And if not, what changes do I want to make? Because I also have this goal. Does that answer your question? I know I kind of went off a little bit on
Yeah, that was good.
extra things, but yeah, any other thoughts or questions about any of this so far? Thank you, Janine. Okay, so the third thing, I love this one, probably the best. Sorry, I get all crazy with my mouse. I gotta hold still. I forget you guys can see that. The best thing I think we can do is just believe that we can do it. Decide even that I can, because what we tend to do is look back to see what's happened before with our weight loss. We look to the past to see what's possible. Okay. Well, I've lost weight before, but I always gain it back. So that's probably what's going to happen now. And then what happens from that thought process is we just repeat it. So instead of doing that and looking back, we can look forward to the best version of us, to the version of us that has already lost the weight, who loves us, who wants us to succeed, who's rooting us on, and we can live like her now. And I would say, even more importantly, love ourselves like she does now. Like, quit telling ourselves that we can't do it. Even if you're like, but I really can't do it. I've got 50 years or whatever, 40 years of proof. It can be scary to lean into this idea, this possibility that you can, but believing that you can is going to get you so much further than continue to believe you can't. You're just going to create that reality. So if we want to make it permanent, part of that is deciding, I can do this. I can do this. I believe in myself. I'm going to keep going. Maybe it hasn't happened yet. Maybe I'm not quite at the weight that I want to yet in this first 12 weeks, but I believe I can keep going. This is a forever long game. This isn't a 12-week crash and then we're there. This is like my whole life. So those are my 3 things that I came up with for you that I feel like get in the way the most, for at least as far as the coaching aspect, our brains. So I wanted to open it up now just to some discussion, coaching, if anyone is up for it. If not, that is totally fine. But we can look at, and if you don't want to like bring it to me on this call right now, asking yourself, what are the obstacles that I think are in my way of making this permanent? And if anyone wants to share, they can share. Or if you want to just like consider that question. Because identifying our obstacles could be the first step. And then as your life coach, that's what I would help you continue to do. I'm offering that right now. So if there's any obstacles, I know there's only a few of us on the call, but go ahead if there are any.
Corey,
Yeah.
a lot of my clients have or soon to be clients maybe, they've already made the decision that they're going to fail
What do you think
before
that's
they
all?
even.
Yeah, what do you think that's all about? I'm just curious, did they say why they think that?
They just say, I've done other things and I've always just fell, so I'll probably just fail at this one.
Yeah. Ooh. So that's a classic example of what we just went through, right? Like if you don't believe it, you're gonna create what they think is true, but that's not true at all. The idea that they can or cannot be successful is your thinking, right? It's your belief in you. So it's people think, no, that's true, but it's really not true. Anything is possible. But it makes sense. I'm sure if they were on the call, they'd be like, no, 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 Corey, this and this and this and this. So if they believe that, I would just, are you I guess, Tammy, tell me more about that. Like, what are you asking for me? Do you want to, do I help with them or yeah, go ahead.
There are not some obstacles that I hear.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's powerful, right? Because your brain's really good at being right. So your brain's like, see this, I'll tell you, Weight Watchers, I did that, I did that, I did that. And I think part of it possibly could be it's not what they want to do. They're not making it their own. They're doing it for the purpose of losing weight, but they're not loving the path. They're on a steep incline mountain that they hate instead of like, here's a path. Here's something maybe more gentle that I actually love that I can start to adopt in my bones,
Right.
So yeah.
So one of the phone calls I was on with a prospect that she did become a client, she said, she particularly said that I'm a failure and I'll just fail at it. And I says, oh yeah, did you go have a blood test done? And did it come back as, did the doctor tell you were a failure because that's what your blood test showed?
Yeah.
She goes, no. I says, okay, then that's just your thought.
Yeah. Well, and even like, what if failing is the way to ultimate success? Because what if we have to try things and not have them not work in order to find what works?
Right.
I think that is so helpful to, like, I failed a ton. I fail every day. I fail every minute. I'm failing. Like I am not like perfect at eating. My if Janine looked at my food lately, I don't know what she'd say, you know? But I'm learning for me, my own body is like responding and I'm trying to listen and I'm trying to learn from what happened and learn from what I was feeling and learn from why I'm failing, but it's pushing me forward. People look at failure like a full stop. You can't do it. but it's more of the path being cut out for you, I would say. So maybe even helping them flip. So what? You had a bad day. It doesn't mean you're a bad
Right.
person.
Right. And also, people are, is that comfort zone. It's stepping out of that comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. And of course, our brains want to be comfortable, but is it really comfortable? Maybe even questioning that. Like, is it really comfortable where you're at, or is it just easy? And
Right.
I'm sure you could find easy examples to stay. Anyway, it's, I would say, helping them see that not that it's easy either way, but it's hard either way. They're believing it's easy, but questioning. Probably kind of
Exactly.
hard too. Christine, did you have a comment?
Yeah, my biggest obstacle right now is that I have some health issues. I have
Okay.
some inflammation and some autoimmune diseases that I'm trying to work on right now. I'm exercising more than I ever have. I'm eating better than I ever have. But sometimes it gets a little discouraging because I'm not really losing that much weight. But anyway,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. Yeah. So that, I mean, tell me, knowing these health concerns, I mean, maybe part of it, Christine, is just, yeah, letting yourself feel that, like, hey, I'm discouraged right now. Would you say that's true? I just feel kind of discouraged.
well, I do a little bit, but then I look at the bright side and I'm going, I have lost a couple of pounds and it's slow. I mean, in the past I would lose weight very quickly. But now I have to acknowledge I do have some autoimmune disease interfering, and that's not my fault.
Yeah. Well, and so maybe looking at too, the weight is at a certain number, but like how overall would you say you feel physically? I mean, there's some negative things, I'm sure, but just
Mhm.
we have the scale as one measure, but if you were to look at the whole measure of how far you've come in this last 12 weeks.
Well, my blood panels, I had some done in December and some done in February. They came back a lot better.
Yeah. What do you think about that?
Oh, I was really happy about that because it showed that my efforts paid off.
Yeah, and how do you feel when you think my efforts are paying off?
I'm going, well, I'm going to get better. Hopefully, I'll get rid of this inflammation.
Yeah. So just seeing, okay, brain, there's the scale, there's a number that's maybe going up, down, whatever, maybe, and it makes sense. It's not as fast as
Mhm.
it used to be. So it makes sense your brain would have thoughts that make you feel discouraged sometimes about that. But
Mhm.
then zooming out and seeing, wait a minute, what else is true is that I also have these numbers changing, you know, things are happening in my body. I'm seeing like that's real also. What are you thinking about? What do you think about that though?
Yeah. Well, I am improving, so that's good news.
Yeah, well, and I'm guessing thinking like I'm improving helps you want to keep going,
Hmm.
right? Comparative to
Right.
that number and the discouraging thoughts, which is totally normal. But we can just look at, how do I want to think on purpose? Maybe I do want to just feel discouraged today too. There's no problem with like, hey, I'm discouraged right now. But even I think when you allowed yourself to even go there, then notice how you went like, but this is also true. So that was interesting to
Mm.
watch. Thank you for sharing. That's awesome. Does that feel helpful for you, or do you have any other comments or
Sure.
questions?
So
No, and
Corey,
Janine,
oh, go
oh, go
ahead.
ahead.
Yeah.
Janine was helpful too because she explains things and like, I thought I was eating too many carbs, and she says, "But you've got all these fibers, and fibers are considered carbs." And I'm going, "Oh, okay."
Yeah. So great.
Yeah, sometimes it's not as bad as we think. Because if we look at just the scale, there's so many non-scale victories and things going on.
Right.
So
My scale has basically been within 5 pounds forever, but my body itself total change. Like that's why I always like to think like, okay, can I measure myself? How are my clothes fitting? How am I feeling in my body is so much more valuable to me than if the scale says, even though that's the culture we're in, right? Like be the smallest, weigh the least you can, but maybe not. Maybe that's just one measure, and maybe there's a million others that are more
Exactly.
valuable to us. Yeah.
And I know like one method that in the health coaching that we use sometimes is like when you're looking at obstacles, and you think of like obstacles are the way, like they're the way to your success.
Mhm.
Because when you look at it and you start getting creative and curious about like, all right, how do I overcome, like when you're doing hurdles on the track or something, like how I don't want to go around it. I want to, go over it. How am I going to get there so I can get to my goal,
Mhm.
I mean, you can go around or over. So there's different ways. So you can look at those obstacles and
Yeah.
like Christine's really good at this, like figuring out like she's got these obstacles of health concerns and stuff and finding a way to create that health that she still wants in her life. And so it's so exciting to see this in people as they're looking at these obstacles that are in their way and then finding ways to still get
Yeah.
to the goal. But I feel like that's such a great part of where coaching, can come in to kind of help. Because sometimes we're not even familiar or aware of the obstacles sometimes that's in our way or options, different paths that we could take to get to the goal. So
Yeah. Well, and almost like I think of it like expecting them. They're going to happen
mhm.
forever. But if we keep ourselves, like I said, like on this steady path instead of like the climbing Mount Everest, the fastest way to our goal, it's like steady path. There will be obstacles, but we can go over like a small boulder in the path and figure it out, like you're saying. It's just within that perspective instead of I'm climbing up, I'm doing a 12-week cleanse or,
And it seems so overwhelming if you look at it that way. And like, can't do a
right.
12-week class. Somebody was just telling me they want you recommended a 6-day water fast, and I was like, I don't even know. That sounds overwhelming to me too.
Right.
You know.
Mhm.
So, but a 1 day I could do.
Sure.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
so it's just finding out, like you said, the little boulders versus looking at it as a big mountain to climb and finding what you can do versus what you
Mhm.
can't do.
Right. So good.
That's so good. Well, thank you so much, Corey. That was wonderful, wonderful. Any
You're
more
welcome.
questions today before we wrap this up?
Nope. Thanks for everyone for participating.